Good evening. Blessings and welcome to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I just have a couple of announcements. Next Sunday, the 15th, I probably won't be here. I think I might be out in the desert, and so I will miss you all. And perhaps on the 18th, I'll be gone as well for the Kundalini group and the Wednesday night meditation. That's in like 10 days from now. So I'll let you know about that Wednesday night, but the Sunday 15th, I probably won't be here. Also, I will be traveling at the end of the month to the Shivananda Ashram in the Bahamas for the Spiritual Awakening Symposium. That's March 30th through April 2nd. So I hope you can join us there in beautiful Bahamas. We'd love to see you there. And I will be at Kripalu mid-July, July 12th through the 17th, for our next in-person retreat after the Shivananda Spiritual Awakening Symposium. So, anyways, that's what's happening. And I'll let you all know when the next online retreat is as well. So I'd like us to start off tonight just by gently shutting down our eyes and beginning to feel into a basic space of silence, of peace. And so all day long, most of us are busy doing this thing and that thing. But right now, I'm going to invite us to stop, to put down all busyness, and to step back into the background of one's consciousness. Take a big backward step where we come to see and recognize that all of life is happening perfectly, just as it is. And so stepping back into a space of Shiva nature, stepping back into this Zen-like peace, this background contextual reality, where we come to recognize all is well. And if your mind is telling you all is not well, then that means you're not in this background space of peace. And so we could agree with the mind saying, yes, there are things that need attention, but right now, let us step back into this perfect peace, this perfect harmony. This is the harmony of the sky, the deep harmony of the earth, deep strength of the earth. And as we step back here together, if you allow your mind to be silent, your body to be still, you will begin to feel and experience this nurturing flow this healing grace. For in the modern world, our mind seems to be always moving, our bodies are moving. But the mind and body needs time to simply stop. And to drink from a cup of peace. This cup of stillness, of silence. And as you do so, you'll notice your consciousness spreading out. The human self feeling less claustrophobic, from being stuck in a body, so we're opening. The level of mind, level of heart, the level of body. We're putting the personality down, the mind down. And allowing yourself to be held in silence. And to simultaneously know yourself as silence. And as you feel into this silence, you notice it's alive. And there's a radiance here. And as you feel into the fabric, the direct experience of this radiance, you'll see it has a quality of wholeness, of completeness. Which is very different than the egoic mind. The egoic mind wants to be completed by another human being, by a job, a vocation, by a big house. But as you feel into the silence, into the stillness, it has a feeling of totality. And so let us drink from this cup. Let us remember what it is that we truly are. So breathing, feeling, smiling. Trusting in this great peace. This great stillness. This immensity of being. Allowing ourselves just to be. In this unified reality. And so as you see in the unified reality, there's nothing to do, no one to be, nothing to overcome, and all is well. All is well. And so let us smile at this recognition that all is well. And just knowing that this perfect place of peace is always here in the background. And so now I'm going to somewhat contradict myself. As you feel more fully into the body, I'm going to invite us to work with, a chakra literacy, a chakra intelligence. And I invite you to scan your body. And I invite you to notice if anything is unwell, if anything is out of balance, if anything is unresolved. And so feeling into the crown, the forehead, the throat, and just asking, am I fully open? Am I relaxed and at ease and peaceful? Is there any headache or gripping or stress in the mind? Is there any thoughts that I've been ruminating over? Is there any gripping in the jaw, the throat, neck, the shoulders? And if so, we're going to invite whatever's gripping, whatever's ruminating, we're going to invite it to come into contact with this greater sense of peace. And in a sense, I'm going to invite us to release ourselves, to release ourselves from ourselves, to release our thoughts, release our stress, release any struggle into this most quiet peace, this stillness, this spaciousness. Well, sometimes when I'm walking across the desert, I'll see this thing we call a dirt devil, a big kind of tornado swirl of dirt. That'll just kind of get picked up and it'll spin around and around, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And then it kicks itself loose. And the dust either blows on down the line or it falls back to the earth and settles. And this peace, this spaciousness has room to allow. Whatever is here to unwind. So feeling into those top 3 chakras, the crown, the third eye, the throat. And just noticing that there's any mini tornadoes, any dirt devils, any clamping, gripping, and softening into a state of ease, to a space of trust. And so we'll continue down along the spine with our chakra literacy here, feeling into the heart. Sometimes satsang can be a place of renewal, place of letting go, place of coming into contact again with the truth. So as you feel into the heart, is there anything in your heart that we need to let go of, that we need to forgive. Is there anything here that's wanting to be released? Any type of heaviness, any old emotion. Sometimes there's old grief that we've been carrying that it'd be helpful just to acknowledge, I'm really sad about this, and allow the grief to unload fully. So taking some deep, full inhales and full exhales. Clearing the heart. Letting go of the past. And so feeling down into the solar plexus and just noticing the chakras, like is the solar plexus lit up? Is the heart still lit up? It can be lit up with light. It can be lit up with pain. It can be lit up struggling with the past. Or fantasizing and fighting with the future. And so we're having a sense of awake awareness about what is happening within the human body, the human form, the chakra system. So the solar plexus is a point of personal power, a place from which we often argue with life. And so we will ask this very Zen-like question, am I arguing with life? What are the ways that I argue with life? Am I actively choosing, consciously choosing to argue? Am I unconsciously choosing? And in this moment, can I choose peace? Can I allow for an expansion of consciousness to step into Shiva nature? So at the third chakra center, we can drink from the cup of separation, the cup of pride, self-centeredness, of separation. Or we can put that cup down and drink in a sky-like mind. We can drink from the cup of equanimity. Go with the flow of life. So as we continue to soften in the solar plexus, let's travel down along the spine into the hara. And again, just checking in, a little hara health, hara hygiene. Do I have any arguments, fights with my family? Little tiffs or power struggles in intimate relationships? Do I have any fears of intimacy, fears of being close? fears of truly being seen, truly being loved. Do I have financial fears? Many of us here have fears about the state of the world. And those are absolutely valid in a human sense. But in a space of satsang, we put all fear down and we ask, what would life be like? What is it like when we let go of all fear? And as we continue to soften in the hara, you may notice this sense of empowerment coming forward, almost as if this background piece is becoming more rooted, grounded. And so as we feel into the root chakra, again, can we open? Can we let go of any and all fear of life? And give ourselves the freedom, the courage to live. Our fullest life with great heart, great love, great expression. And as you open the hara, you may notice a subtle rush of Shakti up the spine. And a sense of yes. Yes. I wish to live as a space of fearless freedom. Fearless freedom. And so, take a couple more deep, full breaths. Just breathing, feeling, softening. And as you gently open your eyes, I'd like just to share something from the great Zen master. Zen Master Suzuki here. I'll show you a play show and tell here. And Anne asked me this question, I think it was last week or maybe on the retreat, about what it means to live from the awakened mind. And she said, are you just having an experience once and then you're going to remind yourself of that experience? And like I shared last week, of course the answer is no, but I wanted just to read from I just wanted to read and share a little bit here because I thought that this was great. And he goes on to write, to live in the realm of Buddha nature means to die as a small being, moment after moment. And so when we're in this space of freedom, what's dying are all the small parts of us. The contracted parts, the limited parts, the negative parts. If you ever just look into yourself and watch your mind, you might discover, that inside you have a doubting Thomas, and like the old expression goes, or a negative Nancy. And let's just say you have a doubting Thomas or a negative Nancy within you. And we've all had these at time to time, of course. Negative Nancy, she tends to come up in moments of fear. I guess so does doubting Thomas. Both those arise in fear. And what the great Roshi here is inviting is for those parts of us to die, moment to moment. And even just saying it, moment to moment, we're having all these little deaths. Normally when we think about death, we think of it as this one moment where we don't exist. And so already he's inviting us into this paradox. We're dying moment after moment. So it's like moment after moment, then something must be living on. He goes on to share, when we lose our balance, we die. But at the same time, we also develop ourselves and we grow. Whatever we see is changing. It's losing its balance. The reason everything looks beautiful is because it is out of balance. But its background is always in perfect harmony. This is how everything exists in the realm of Buddha nature, losing its balance against a background of perfect balance. And I invite us just to really hear this. It's like, and this is, like one of the taglines that I use for this teaching is fully human and fully divine. And so the human part of us is always tripping over itself. And as we trip over ourselves, we're falling forward on the path, we're growing, we're evolving, and there's something beautiful about it. I know I told you all last week, it was still February last week, and I was walking up the street and I saw just a beautiful flower coming up in February, and it's just so wonderful to see that. This is life growing and evolving. But you give that flower a little bit of time, and you give it a cold Colorado night, and that flower will shrivel up. It will. It will. But in the background, there's always this perfect harmony. In the background, you see that everything is perfect, just living in this immense harmony. And this is what it means to be awake as we step back into the stillness, into the silence. And when you step back enough, this background becomes the foreground. And you feel as if everything is okay. Even when it's not okay. I mean, I'll tell a funny story that, with all this war going on in the Middle East, I've been doing this thing where as soon as the car runs out of gas, I run down to the gas station and fill it up again, because I don't want gas prices going any higher. I don't want there to be, don't want to run out of gas. I want to be able to drive the family around and this and that. Go to the store. But in this world, like our world, it's always falling out of balance. It seems like us humans are always going off to war. It's so insane. So insane. But in the background, we see, we experience, we know that this immense peace is always here. It's been here before the time of the dinosaurs, and will continue on after the time of the humans. There'll be this immense, spacious peace, this harmony, this grand okayness. And yet in the foreground of one's consciousness, we can say, no, it's not okay. You turn on the news and it's like, oh my God. They're just bombing all over Iran. Iran is, bombing all over the Middle East. It's insane. Insane, but I can tell you, I've talked to many soldiers who stood on a battlefield and experienced this great peace, this great freedom. This great freedom. And then a couple seconds later, as they step back into their mind, there was this great fear. And this is the paradox of life here on planet Earth. Now, if we identify fully with fear, well, we'll just be like any human being living on the wheel of samsara, immensely suffering. But as we wake up to peace. We wake up to love. So peace tends to be a very transcendent experience. And of course, it's incredible. It creates great sense of freedom. But in this teaching here, it's not just about peace. We wake up to love as well. And so we have our human nature still, of course, but we're inviting the human nature to come into contact with great peace, with great love. And in doing so, we discover great strength. And when we have great peace, great love, and great strength, it gives us another possibility of how to respond to life. How to respond. Because in an insane world, if we're not awake, we'll just join in the insanity. We'll join in the chaos. We'll join in the confusion. But when there's great love, great peace, and great strength, it creates a possibility for something different. And right now, our world needs something different. It needs something really different, incredibly different than what's happening. And many of us, we've tried this method before. We say, I don't like what's happening. And so we argue very loudly, perhaps yelling in the streets about how we don't like what's happening. Maybe we yell online about what's happening and I don't like it. But there's this problem in this world, in the world of non-duality, in the world of oneness. When we discover that the world is a mirror, when you are divided inside, if you're hating America and Israel for starting this war, or hating Iran for being, whatever it is they are, we add to division. When we are against, we add to the division of this world. And what we have not tried yet is for a tremendous amount of individuals, a critical mass, to live in unity. When we live in unity, the world will reflect unity. Our space brothers up there, in the heavens, they're waiting for humanity to live in unity, to wake up and realize that we're killing our brothers and sisters here on planet Earth. And you might say, well, I'm not killing them. I'm not doing the bombing. But we kill each other through division, through having divided minds. Black versus white, red versus blue, this versus that. It's this division. And at some point, humanity could wake up and say, what if we don't fight with each other? What if we don't make the other side wrong? When you don't make the other side wrong, it's hard for there to be a other side. What the Space Brothers keep telling us is like, you're all one people. You're one species. Why are you fighting among yourselves? You know, I found this. I had brothers, and sometimes I would go over to like a friend's house when I was young, and all the brothers would just be beating each other up, just fighting with each other constantly. And with my two brothers, we got along. Like, we just realized it's a lot funner. Life is much better when we get along. Like, my younger brother has been one of my best friends for my whole life. Now, when I was a little kid, I wasn't some little saint in any way. I'd poke my brother, and he'd poke me back. And then, I would hit him, and he'd hit me back. And I realized very quickly, this just doesn't work. It's not fun. I got to live with this guy. But when I started to invite him along, I realized, I've got a friend. I've got someone to play with, to connect with, to talk to. I mean, and what did we do? I mean, we just skateboarded is what we did. Yes, I always got someone to skate with, so we can always go together. And it was wondrous. It's wondrous to have a brother and to not fight with him. And my older brother, who was quite different than me and my younger brother. I was the middle one. But my older brother, who was quite different than us, and he was different in every different kind of way. Me and my little brother were like two little hippie punks, and my older brother was, literally an army man. But we found a way to respect him, to love him, to enjoy his presence. And because of that, there was this great gift of harmony. Between us brothers, a great gift of harmony. Here on planet Earth, human beings, we've had a really hard time figuring out how to live in harmony with each other. And so as we look into our chakras, as we've been studying our chakra centers, I encourage us just to continue to be mindful with the chakras and notice when the chakras are out of harmony. So when they're out of harmony, you will feel a grip in them, or, like if the throat chakra is out of harmony, if it's far too open, you might just be sharing all your thoughts and feelings with your neighbors, and they may or may not like it. They may or may not like it. So when you're scanning the chakras and just noticing, am I in alignment? Am I in harmony? You always have the choice just to step fully out of the body, just step all the way back into this perfect peace and harmony, which is Shiva nature. Shiva nature is like, I'm not going to touch any of my thoughts, any of my emotions. I'm just going to sit way here in the back and let them all pass. And as you do so, you'll find, there's a perfect peace all the time. All the time, there's this perfect peace. A perfect peace. I can tell you, one day I was in Southern California, all the way south, like down in San Diego, and I was driving up the coast. And there's just something beautiful about driving up the coast of California. So if you're driving up, you're driving north, the ocean's going to be on your left. So you have this big ocean, big Pacific Ocean, huge blue sky above. This perfect peace. And I pulled over and was just hanging out, just, looking at the ocean. And in the background, I was close to Camp Pendleton, and in the background, the Marines were blowing up some stuff. So they were blowing up some bombs, dropping some bombs, launching some mortars, firing some artillery, blowing some stuff up. But the sound of the explosion, the sound of just bombs, if you ever heard bombs, it's something that'll get your attention for sure. But the sound of the bombs were arising in perfect peace, in this perfect harmony, this background of freedom. Now, if I wanted to step onto the wheel of samsara, I could have stepped into the mind and said, this is the problem with the world. These are the guys causing all the wars. They're not. It's the politicians, the army guys. They train for war, but I don't know if they necessarily like war. I've never met someone who's truly liked war. But these bombs are arising in peace. And I could go into my mind and create a world of suffering, a political argument, and that's what we do as humans. We fight against. I'm not saying we shouldn't. There's some things that's worth fighting against. I think it's worth fighting against war, but it's important that we look at, well, how am I actually fighting? Am I fighting in a way that creates peace? Or am I fighting in a way that creates division? And so whatever the environment, the same kind of thing, like we can create a world of hell, or we can step into heaven. I was just going on a hike the other day. I was just walking up a mountainside, and I was with someone, and they were having a really hard day. They had one of these days where they're walking with their head down, gloomy. They were almost sticking their bottom lip out. Like, that's how hard of a day they were having. So I was walking up the hill with this poor soul. And, they were huffing and puffing and, had a dark cloud around them. And then from behind, there was this crew of runners. I'll just call it the Durango Running Club. And, they just came running up the hill. And, there were guys who were in their 20s or 30s. There were some high schoolers. And there was even a kid who was, maybe even two kids who were like, maybe 12 and 13. So little kids running up a hill. Here in Colorado where there's no oxygen. The person I was with was, having stuck in their head, stuck in this doom and gloom scenario. And so the same day, same environment, these people running up the hill. And they were happy, telling jokes, smiling, not huffing and puffing. Experiencing the beauty of life. And often on the spiritual path, we forget that often it is us. It is our thinking. It's our attachment to our emotions. It's our lack of forgiveness. It's our inability to let go. That makes a difference between heaven and hell. That makes a difference between freedom, great peace, great love, great radiance, and just living in a state of despair. Great despair, great confusion. And so part of us being awake, part of us having a chakra literacy, a chakra health, is for us to look inside and just notice, am I ruminating? Am I holding on to the past? Do I need to forgive someone? Do I need to let go of some limiting beliefs? Do I need to let go of my pride? Do I need to let go of my angst? Do I have an addiction that I need to put in check? Do I need to put down the bad news and open up and experience this great peace which is always here? And so, Anne, thank you for your question last week. This question of like, well, is the experience of enlightenment, this experience of spiritual freedom, is it something we just had on a beautiful day of meditation? It can be that, and maybe it's just only that for some people. But what's important for us when we do open to that which is beyond the mind, and we step into this greater reality, we see that there is this reality of perfect harmony here, always, in every moment. Even if our humanity is involved in a hot mess, there's this perfect harmony here. Perfect harmony here. In every moment. And so it's plugging into this harmony, knowing this harmony, experiencing this harmony directly. And as you experience this, you notice, you experience, you live as freedom itself. But let's be crystal clear here. It doesn't mean every single thing in your life is solved. I can tell you this, here on March 8th in Colorado, we've got no snow, like zero, zilch. But also, I'll go back in time, say 20 years. I've stood on my teacher's roof on March 8th, and he had a gigantic roof. He had one of these, he lived in like a house that was like a barn, and it had like 10 roofs on it. And just huge roofs. And I would stand on the roof, and I'd be standing in 4 feet of snow. And so, for those of you who don't know what 4 feet is, it's going to be up past your waist. And I'd be standing in this 4 feet of snow and this big, immense sky above me, the beautiful mountains. And let's say it's dawn because I'm getting up there early. And my job is to shovel all this snow. Get the snow off the roof so the roof doesn't collapse. So I still have to do my job. And it's still going to hurt. My bones are going to ache. It's going to be hot, which people don't understand. But in Colorado, when you're up on a roof and you're shoveling snow, it's hot. And that sun is shining. And it's cooking your face. And so I'm having all these human experiences. My bones are aching. The muscles are aching. And I get shoveling, but all day long, I'm shoveling snow in this great peace. The sky is holding me. The earth is holding me. When you're in immense snow, there tends to be this extreme quietude. Snow does this thing where it makes everything so silent and pristine. It's absolutely exquisite. And so here I am shoveling snow. And on top, like when you shovel snow on top in Colorado, it's light. It's powdery. It's like powdered sugar. You stick your shovel in there and it just kind of flies through the air. When you get down to the bottom of it, where the warmth of the roof, the warmth of the house is melting the snow, then it's heavy and it's dense, and you might have to, you get a rubber mallet and break through the ice and shovel the ice off, which is a whole other ordeal. Very difficult, very heavy and dense. And all this is happening in a perfect peace. But again, the body might ache. And if I agree, if I align with the aching body, if I make a story about it, I shouldn't have to do this. This is too much snow. This isn't fair. I wish there was more money where my teacher could hire a whole crew of us so we could get this done quicker. I should be snowboarding with my friends. I should own a house by now. Any kind of thought. If I engaged with those thoughts, I could step out of a perfect peace and into delusion, into disharmony, into anger, into victimhood, into woe is me, life is not fair. I've been a 36-year-old man before, shoveling a roof. I've been a 48-year-old man shoveling a roof. I've been a 49-year-old man. I'm 50 now. I haven't been up on the roof yet this year because we just didn't get any snow this year. We just got a little bit. But anyways, we can live in peace. We can live in freedom. Or we can live in the story of our mind. And your chakras, each of your chakras has its own egoic mind, and each of them has its own divine mind. And so there's all these choices that we have. From where within me will I live? From where within me will I live? From where? And you'll see, just like me, I have different moments throughout the week. I turn on the news, I'm like, oh Lord, look at what all they're doing. I think I saw today they're blowing up oil refineries. It's just like, that's going to have an impact, right? They're blowing up people. That's have all kinds of impact in all kinds of people's lives. It's horrific. And so we can go into fear, or we can live in peace, and from peace, we can choose to have very practical, stoic orientation toward life. We look out at life with clarity, with wisdom, and we make choices in alignment with love, in alignment with compassion, in alignment with healing, in alignment with evolution, in alignment with unity. Or we can just be unconscious and just play out our story. Play out our story. Play out our story. And sometimes playing out our story is fun, like I was just down on the river trail and I saw people playing pickleball. Such a silly game. I have a hard time, looking at that game without just thinking it's so silly. But I saw people playing pickleball and being incredibly competitive, yelling, screaming, diving, lunging, experiencing defeat. And this is the virtual reality of the mind. Is we can take anything very, very seriously. We can get so upset. We can think it has some great meaning if we lost, in pickleball. If we lost in pickleball. We can do that. We can do that. Or we can know and experience great peace and freedom. Live in this space of serenity. If you just see, this great Zen master, you see, here's a man who's awake, who's alive, who's clear, who's free to live, but not from his ego, but free to live from a greater place beyond ego, beyond personality, beyond the mind, beyond politics, beyond division. And when you meet an individual like this, you see, oh, this is quite different. This is quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. And so I ask each of you, do you want to live as a remarkable human? As an awake human who's rooted in peace, rooted in love, rooted in this resilient strength. And when the world is dark like it is now, it's so important for us to be rooted in this resilient strength, where we continue to have faith and trust that love will triumph. Because if you turn on the news, we'll just have faith and trust. Oh, here we go again. Here we go. Humans killing humans. You see, it's horrific. But at some point, I don't think anyone wants this war. I can't believe it's happening, but I don't think anyone wants it. Someone must. Someone must. I heard today it's the bankers that want it. It's the bankers, because Iran doesn't participate in our banking system. And it's the bankers that want it. You know, what's wrong with Venezuela? The bankers want that war too. And if you look at the world, you know, I've said this before, but like in the year 2000, you know, there was like 8 or 9 countries that didn't participate in whatever banking system we are a part of. The Rothschild banking system. The Federal Reserve banking system. You guys are going to think I'm crazy here. What were the countries in the year 2000 that weren't participating in this? It's like Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Iran. We've gone to war with every single one of them. Every single one of them. Is it about oil? Is it about banking? Who knows? But at some point, we need a critical mass of humans. That's you all, that's us. To choose unity. To choose a higher way. A greater way. And not allow these crooks, to ruin and destroy our world. You know, these greedy individuals to ruin and destroy our world. We need spiritual individuals to be empowered, to engage in the world. We've always stood back, like way back. You know, that's the shadow side of this initial teaching. We step way back and nothing changes. We need to step way back, see the truth, and then come forward and respond with spiritual power. Spiritual truth, but the truth of unity, the truth of love, the truth of forgiveness, the truth of compassion, the truth of truth, and doing what is good and true for all beings, not just a select few. Not just a select few. Not just our country versus their country. Or our alliance against their alliance. And it all starts with us when you choose to love. This has an impact on the world. When you choose to be honest and not manipulate, this has an impact on the world. When you choose to be kind to yourself. When you look in the world when you look in the mirror and you love yourself and you're kind to yourself, that helps. It actually helps those who are jaded, those who lost touch with their heart. When you love your heart, when you love your beauty, it helps those who are jaded, who are stuck, who are greedy, who are divisive. to come to know love. What is inside is mirrored on the outside. It'd be easy for me to blame Trump and the Ayatollah and Netanyahu and all these guys. Well, we already have all kinds of the news blaming them all day long. But what if we look inside and we find parts that are unlovable? Places of hatred, places of heartache or despair, places of absolute division that are cut off from love, places that are greedy. What if we looked inside and said, I see you and I love you and I care. I care that you're suffering, and so I hold you with love. I meet you with peace. I listen to your sorrows. And I sit with you at the table of love, the table of reconciliation. This is what our world needs. Because again, we could blame all day long. Blaming is what politicians have done, what tribal leaders have done, what humans have done since the beginning of time. But at some point, who will look inside? And love all the orphaned children? Who will look inside and see, I have an angry bull within me. I have an angry bull within me. And what does an angry bull need? It needs lots of space to run. But when it's running around in that vast open space, it needs a mind that is empty. But you know what happens when you agree with your anger? Your anger gets louder. It just gets louder. It becomes more vicious, more divisive. And so whether you have anger in you or hurt within you, can we do the work? Can we be the healing space to hold love, hold presence, to offer love, to offer presence to that which is suffering within us? And as we do so, we make peace. We plant the seeds of peace here on planet Earth. But if we look inside and we hate Trump or hate the Ayatollah or hate Netanyahu or hate whoever, then we plant seeds of hatred. Now you can absolutely say, I don't like what these guys are doing. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like it at all. But I send them all love. And I pray that our world leaders awaken to love, awaken to peace, awaken to a new way with tremendous compassion and no bombs. No bombs. No bombs. Please, no more bombs. No more bombs. So anyways, if anyone has a question or something they want to share, you're always welcome to raise your hand. You're always welcome to bring it forward. Let me see if there's anything else I need to share. And so, one of the things that I've really tried to communicate is that the truth, the experience of enlightenment, of spiritual awakening, is this grand paradox. A paradox where we're opening to this immense peace and freedom always. We open to it until we become openness itself. So that this freedom becomes a way of life. And then we invite our humanity to be held in freedom, to be held in love, to be influenced by love, by freedom, by strength, so that our world may evolve. Okay, let's hear from Terry.
Hello.
Hi, Terry. Good to see you.
Hi. Well, I just wanted your thoughts on, let's see, this morning we were going to Lowe's, I think it was, me and my husband. And he's very hooked into the news and everything, and I'm always like running away, like,
Yeah.
because it really will activate my mind, and I'm trying to solve a problem that's unsolvable, and and that's what happens to him, is like he's just like running his little hamster wheels, and in a lot of ways he's a lot smarter than me, but it always ends up with just this kind of bitterness, and like the world's fucked up, everything's negative, it's everyone out for themselves, and we just should give up, there's nothing to do, and I'm just going to complain about everybody in their cars and whatever, and the hypocrisy of it.
Sure.
And he said something like that this morning, and I said, well, like, why give in? Why give up? Always persist, like, just keep working for the positive, keep hoping for the good, keep working on that.
And so what did he say?
And well, he kind of got quiet and said, yeah, we should put that on a t-shirt. And then he started like getting creative and coming up with weird little slogans.
Yeah. So his mind is just spinning.
Yeah, he's like a super creative person.
Yeah.
And if you just like point it in another direction, then he.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of that feeling of like people feel like so hopeless and stuff. That's like, what's the use? And so, how would you what would you say to keep people motivated? Because, like, I mean, I have faith. I feel like it's all going to work out in the end. It's fine. Let's just, keep working on that inner peace, and wherever you can, share it. But
I mean, a lot of people, like a lot of us, just if we just acknowledge just being a human mammal. I like to look at humans, I like just to look at everything from an evolutionary perspective. Our brain, our consciousness is not designed, it's not ready to be staring at the world news all the time and to be just ingesting world. We're not wired for that. We don't know how to live this way. Like, we're learning how, but it's just creating more and more anxiety on every level. And the more plugged in we are to the world events and the chaos and confusion of the world, it just creates such suffering. And so if we're feeling really full and jaded, most of us need to grieve. And we need time alone, and we need to grieve. Now, what you did with your husband was beautiful. You just redirected him. But his mind, you said, is just like spinning. And so if we're going to play the positive game, it's like we just continue to redirect our mind to that which is positive. And if we ever remember that old song, we've got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. It's like an old Bing Crosby song or something, from Disney.
I don't mean that we should live in denial.
No, I'm not talking about living in denial either, but I mean, we have a choice as human beings. It's like, if we are we're fully in the mind, it's like, let's keep our mind positive and healthy to the best of our ability. That's great. That's great. But if we're on the path of awakening, we need to realize my mind is full. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And in order not to be jaded, most of us need to actually admit the state of the world, which is like when I see all those bombs, I cry. I actively grieve. And through the process, there's this magic with grieving, is when you grieve fully, when you see something traumatic and you grieve fully, it puts you into a state of heaven. It empties you out, and then we're in a state of heaven. And I've always been, like, still to this day, like, I could have a good cry, and afterwards I notice my consciousness has become more expanded again. And it's an amazing gift. And human beings, we've just forgotten this art of just grieving. Of grieving as a way of unloading, emptying out. So there's 1,000,001 things we can do as far as like mental health wise, of just like not watching the news, not plugging into it. But we're going to see it at some point. When you see it, if you're sensitive, you'll notice that there's great sadness within you. But most of us, we don't want to feel the sadness. So what we do is we kind of close the throat chakra, repress the sadness, and what comes out is a lot of angst and jadedness. So like angst will come out, angst, hopelessness, despair, jadedness, but the sadness will be just kind of repressed within us. But if you're courageous and willing to feel the sadness, it opens us up again, and it brings us into the truth, which is, Suzuki was sharing here that, the world is constantly out of balance. Things are always falling apart. Always seems like there's some war going on. And yet, all the while, there's this perfect peace in the background. And most humans, they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear it's wrong, it's bad, it's not right. If we say, yeah, and yet there's a perfect peace here, they might look at us and say, you're a psychopath. Like, how could you say that? How could you say such a thing? Can't you just acknowledge there's only pain and suffering? It's like, but it's not the truth. There's great pain and suffering and absolute beauty, and both are arising at the same time. And that's just what makes this world like such a bizarre world to live in. It's so bizarre. So like your husband's angst, I fully understand it. But the problem is, like for him, and I guess for you, the more he believes in that angst and engages with it, it'll make himself sick, and it won't add anything to the world.
Yeah, because I see him just like, it's like he's like torturing himself, and I'm like,
he's torturing himself, no. He's torturing you, and yeah, and also
to live there.
Yeah, he doesn't have to live there, but come on, it's like, we have the same thing like with young girls, like they have the highest suicide rates, out of, all time right now. It's because young girls are staring at screens, comparing their body to the pretty Instagram model, and just making themselves sick, living in insecurity, counting likes on Instagram, and it's just, and then, swallowing a bottle of pills because they've made themselves sick. But part of us, waking up again and just having that chakra health, if we notice angst and jadedness arising out of our mouth, at some point we have to hear what we are saying and be like, God, do I want to be that guy? Do I want to be that guy? And I've hung out with a lot of old conservative men who, like even before the internet, who would sit in their garage listening to Rush Limbaugh on talk radio, just yelling about the state of the world and just making themselves so sick. Like you walk into that garage and you're like, oh my God, this feels like a dark cloud of just disgusting energy, but it's like, how many guys, just died out in that garage, listening to Rush Limbaugh. It's like a terrible way to live. Terrible. But as awakening beings, at some point we have to choose. Yeah, so thank you, Terry. Nice to have you here. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Well, a lot of you raised your hands all of a sudden. Okay. Let's hear from Johan.
Greg.
Hey, Johan. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks. So I would like to ask for maybe a bit of guidance around something. So I've been feeling lately like I need a little bit of a inner spiritual renaissance, if that makes sense. Like I need something to reconnect me like deeply to God, to the path, to give me faith, and also kind of strengthen my discipline.
Mm-hmm. Johan. I'm going to be polite here. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to censor myself here. I wanted to yell at you, but I'm going to bite my tongue here. What's going on in your heart? I want to see those eyes go down into your heart. Like your eyes are always looking up into your head. I want you looking down, feeling down into your heart. Is your heart open and connected with God? Could it open more and connect more fully to God? Yes. So I think what's going on with you is you're trying to connect to God from your head. And let me tell you, you're going to fail at that, and you're supposed to fail at that. So if we try to connect to God from our head, from our thinking mind, you should feel divided, or some sense of despair, some sense of hopelessness, some sense of, I'm just not really connected. Not really connecting right now. But if you come into your heart, do you love God?
Yes.
Yes. I want you to feel into that love. And I want you to invite that love to be like a child. Like on a warm summer day, reaching up, to the sunshine above. And to proclaim to the divine. And it can be just the divine in general. Or it can be to Jesus, to Mary, to the Divine Mother. Whatever's the easiest way. What's the easiest way for you to connect to God?
It depends, but Jesus has been a good way.
Good. So we call upon Jesus. We say, Jesus, will you come here now and be with me now? I'm inviting you into my heart. I'm feeling lost, alone, and disconnected. I want to connect with you. I want to know you more fully. So can you open yourself, my friend, and talk, commune with the Christ? But that's going to require that you soften your thinking mind even more fully, to step out of your thinking mind more fully, and step deeper into your heart. So what are you noticing now? What's happening?
Well, there's a part of me that's like frustrated. Like I don't know how to step out of my mind. Kind of this is going on.
Yeah. So
it's a part of me, and it's not like. But at the same time, there is a sense of like, like it seemed like there's such a pull, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I was kind of, I don't know, feeling maybe about doing like a more my question was actually about like doing like a 10-day Vipassana retreat.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
to
Yeah.
And I guess the guidance I was seeking was just a little dilemma I've had around there's definitely some human aspects of me that don't like it at all.
Don't like being human? Don't like what? Don't like Vipassana?
Don't like Vipassana, but
Yeah.
there's also some aspects that really recognize that I've had, you know, deepest openings,
Mm-hmm.
and at these retreats and after these retreats, but there was also clear sense of not being home at those retreats.
Yeah. Vipassana is not our home. But if you go to Vipassana, I want you just to use it as a place to get out of your head and into your body. And I'm asking you to do that same thing right now. We don't have to go to Vipassana. But the basic teaching for you has always been the same. Feel in your heart. Your mind thinks, your heart feels. So it's training yourself to feel the presence of your heart. And part of the transition of coming down out of the head is noticing there's a frustration in the head here. Good. Let's acknowledge it. Now we're getting closer to the heart. And as we open beyond frustration, we come into the quiet presence, the innocence of the heart. You see, it has a different contextual reality. The heart is a realm of feeling. The mind is a realm of thinking. And even just saying, well, I got this dilemma here because I want to go, but I'm thinking I don't like it and it's not my home. And it's just like, just come into the heart. And if you ask the heart, will going on a Vipassana retreat be generally good and helpful for me? You're probably going to get a yes. But if you ask the mind, well, is it the perfect place, and is it the exact teaching, and I don't like what Goenka says here, and he's a little bit strict, and these guys are kind of like Nazis, and like this program, and they're so damn serious. Like, we can create like a whole thing. And people do this with me all the time. Like, Craig, I want to come on the retreat, but like this is like, you say Jesus, and I don't like Jesus because once upon a time, some Christians made fun of me at school. And I'm always like, what are we talking about, man? Like, do you want to open to love? Do you want to open to light? Then go spend some time in a cave, on a mountain. I go out to the desert a lot. Sometimes I just walk outside. I'm like, oh my God. And you feel the sky. If you want a relationship with God, talk to God, pray to God from your heart. We got to get you out of here. And if we just make it real simple, am I thinking? Yes. What if I just start feeling more? And live from a place of feeling. And you're going to have some emotions there that you're going to come into contact with, but we're going deeper than emotional feelings and stepping into the feeling of openness itself. And when you come into openness itself, I mean, hell, you don't need to go to Vipassana. It's just like, oh, Vipassana is happening everywhere. Everywhere. But more and more, I want you to just keep bringing your energy down here. And just like a great practice for you, Johan, is what am I feeling? We're not thinking about feeling, just feeling directly from a space of openness. Are you following what I'm saying here?
Mm-hmm.
And just like being with feeling, being as openness itself. And just playing with this. That's what Vipassana is being openness itself. But if you want to connect, like if you're saying like, I'm feeling like I need more time connecting with God. I mean, hell, any Saturday morning, any day we have off work, if you get up and spend 3 hours meditating, if you do 90 minutes of yoga, you're probably going to feel really connected. Really connected. You don't have to do the 10-day retreat. You can. I always tell people, anytime you can go on a retreat, go. I went on all kinds of retreats, and never once did I be like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. I was always like, that was incredible. Even if the teacher was a jerk or had their head up their rear end or whatever, I was always like, that was a great retreat. And I tried not to get involved with my head, because the mind can complain about anything. The mind can argue with Jesus, with Mother Mary, with Vipassana, with whatever this guy says. That's just the nature of the mind. And it's important for us to say, all day long, what's my job is to step out of the mind and into the heart. And so, if you can pull off 10 days, go for it. But if you only have 2 days, spend 2 days walking around the woods, seeing the beauty of the trees. And if your frustration arises, I mean, I've done this a lot. I've fallen on my knees in the forest and cried. Just like cried the frustration out, cried the division out. But what's important is to let it empty, but we don't pick it up again. And so I want you to imagine your God is the God of an open heart, not the God of the mind. Okay, my friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you play with this. And again, I want you to, your big practice is not to think, but purely to feel. And allow you to make decisions from a point of feeling. And I know what you'll say. You'll make a decision from a point of feeling. Your mind will come in and doubt it. But I'm like, we're not going to do that. We're just going to say, no, this is what I've chosen. And I'm going to try to develop a new type of mind. This prajna that the Buddha spoke about. It's heart mind, heart wisdom, where I just go with my feelings. And so you look for the deepest feeling within you, say, I'm going with this. Just as an exercise, just purely as an exercise, to take authority away from this one and bring it into this one. And then after you start getting more and more authority in your heart, we need to look and say, okay, is it any of this emotional? It's like, okay, let's strip that away. Just come into the pure presence of the heart. But you need to work with steps. So for step 1, we're stepping out of thought and into pure feeling. And I'm going to just work with just trusting my deepest feeling and choosing from there. So if your heart's saying, I want to connect, let's connect. Let's connect. Let's feel our way into peace. Let's feel our way into love. And if doubt comes in, which it will with you because you have a strong mind, you just keep reminded, no, I'm going to just go with this feeling. And it's okay if I'm wrong. It's okay if I make mistakes. It's okay. I'm just going to go with this feeling. And I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to deepen in who and what it is that I am. Okay, my friend? You play with that. So good to see you, Johan. You're bright light. You have a depth of sincerity in you. I want you to find that sincerity in your heart and follow it. Make that the God you worship. Okay. Thank you all for showing up and sharing your hearts with me. Let us shut down our eyes one more time. Let us invite great peace, great love, great truth to shine out and bless all the planet Earth. Let's invite a special blessing to go those who are suffering with war, with violence, with tragedy, those who've been enslaved and who've been trafficked. Oh, Heavenly Mother, will you shine your love? Will you bring forth great Christ-like mercy? Will you bring peace and healing to this world? May humanity wake up. May love triumph now and forevermore. May you give us the strength to live our highest nature. May we do your healing work here on planet Earth. And so much love to each of you, deep bow of respect. Good night, everyone. Namaste. See you next time.